Hey, we are so glad you came, Micah. Thanks all the way. The messages were terrific. Okay, stop. Not half. Well, we are halfway. Stop. Take a breath. We need it, okay? We're halfway. We were thinking global for the first half of the program. You know the saying, think global, act local? We're going into that now. For 10 years, we have been awarding these Global Citizen Awards to our local heroes and heroines, from students to all kinds of institutions. Our criteria for these Global Citizen Awards have been defined exemplary, outstanding individuals and organizations in the non-governmental sector because of the importance of partnership between governments and what we represent, the non-governmental organizations and non-governmental people and civil society. Let me give you examples. One example of a global citizen, as mentioned already, was Berkeley. In 2006, we awarded an award to the Rotary Interact high school students of the district to provide water to many communities in Africa. 2008, on this stage and in the audience, we had 22 Nobel Peace Prize laureates who had all been working on climate change and protecting the environment. This was their celebration. They had no other public celebration of their Nobel Peace Prize. In 2009, when we did health, we awarded the prize to the Department of Public Health of Berkeley and to the Children's Hospital in Oakland. In 2012, we had a small NGO, a local one, called We Care Solar, headed by Laurel Stachel and Hal Aronson. We gave them a small plaque and a great round of applause. Last week, maybe some of you saw in the newspaper that they won the first Powering the Future We Want award from the United Nations, which came with a prize of $1 million. And we saw them here first. So you don't know what's going to happen to these folks. Okay, so this year, in this distinguished group, we wanted to do something different in the spirit of what Micah mentioned and what is one of the the Sustainable Development Goals, this goal of partnership. And the relationship is underscored by these two statements from the Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, and also the administrator, the chief officer of the UN Development Program, with whom I worked for 31 years. That business and sustainable development goals go together. It's indispensable, including all civil society and other groups, but business plays a key role, including in the formulation of these goals and in their implementation. So we wanted to find some outstanding corporations. And we started with the premise that many people in this community especially, and certainly elsewhere, think that capitalism should be criticized because they say its sole purpose is to generate profits and make money, and there's nothing inherent in capitalism that requires anything more than profits, return on investment, global growth, market share, things like that. But for this year, we wanted to look, and we were very pleased that we had 20 qualified nominees, and we think we came up with 3 of the best for our Global Citizen Awards this year. So we're going to breathe deeply, and we're going to hear from them. And I wanted to invite up 3 people who were involved in the process of selecting these nominees and the winners. And I wanted to start by inviting up Theo Hunt, who's a student here at Cal, who has a very distinguished career in the Model United Nations. He's been a leader in our group as well, and he will present the first award to AMYRIS.
Hey everybody, I have the honor tonight of awarding the first Global Citizen Award to AMYRIS Biotechnologies for their exemplary contributions in helping to achieve the United Nations goals. 12 years ago, a group of researchers at UC Berkeley came together to collaborate in the rapidly growing field of biotechnology. Their work was so groundbreaking it drew the attention of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is one of the largest philanthropic foundations in the world with billions of dollars at their disposal, and they gave a grant to AMYRIS. With this grant, they created a cost-effective and sustainable method of synthesizing artemisinic acid. And for those of you who are not experts in biotechnology, it is a precursor to one of the world's most effective anti-malarial drugs. Malaria is a preventable disease that affects over 250 million people a year worldwide, most of which are children under the age of 5. And it's easy in the United States to not pay heed to the cost of this disease globally. It doesn't just hurt those afflicted, it slows the economic and social development of all the countries that it affects. And because of this, it was specifically named by the United Nations as a priority in the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. AMYRIS has been vital in combating malaria, not only in the development of a cheap way to synthesize artemisinic acid, but they made those processes available on a royalty-free basis worldwide. Now, AMYRIS has turned its attention to sustainable alternatives to a broad range of petroleum-based products, everything from consumer products to renewable jet and diesel fuel. In doing so, they lead the way in integrated renewable projects that are both certifiably green and certifiably safe. A key figure in AMYRIS's recent successes, though, is Joel Cherry. Before joining AMYRIS as President of Research and Development, Joel had already made a tremendous impact on the field of biotechnology. He's an inventor of over 20 issued patents and an author whose work is in more than 30 scientific publications, and he's the recipient of multiple national scientific awards. It's my pleasure to introduce Joel, who I'd like to come up to the stage, and the people with him tonight, who are at the very forefront of research that helps us create a more sustainable future. First Global Citizen Award to AMYRIS, as a private company, as a role model for sustainable development and all the other United Nations development goals. Every day they work to make the world a better place. Congratulations.
And we should say that the award reads Global Citizen Award 2015 for effective contributions to fulfill United Nations Development Goals, AMYRIS, presented by the United Nations Association, USA, East Bay. Treasured tote bag, which has a box of UNICEF cards and also a small flag of the United Nations for them to take home. Put it
Thank you so much, and thank you for that introduction. Also, thanks to iHouse for hosting this. I've never been in this building before, and it's quite beautiful, and the dinner was quite good. I'm a little envious that the students are making out a lot better than I did in college. I'd also, of course, like to thank the UN Association for the lovely award and the recognition, most importantly. I have a few minutes to tell you about AMYRIS, and we paraphrase this by AMYRIS is trying to change the world one molecule at a time. As was already said, AMYRIS was founded actually at a coffee shop not very far from here because they had free Wi-Fi. And it ended up in Emeryville, right next door, about 3 miles away from here. You can see our headquarters up there on the right. On the left is the Brazilian production facility. So what does AMYRIS do? What are we really doing here? AMYRIS is a renewable products company that converts sugar into chemicals using engineered yeast. So those big tanks you see are filled with yeast that convert sugar we feed from a sugarcane mill next door into diesel fuel, solvent products, cosmetic ingredients, flavors and fragrances, etc., etc., etc. Our first project, as was already mentioned, was malaria. And thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which funded us with a grant, we were able to demonstrate that biotechnology on solving problems that are facing our world. Social problems, environmental problems, supply problems, water problems. This was our first example. About 3 weeks ago, the Nobel Prize for Medicine was given, and UU2 in China was awarded the Nobel Prize for her discovery of artemisinin. Artemisinin is a single-dose cure for malaria. Unfortunately, it's extracted from wormwood plants, primarily grown in China. The plants have to be green. It takes about 12 months to grow those plants. And the supply chain is extremely challenging. So traditionally, both the cost of the drug and the supply of the drug go through wild swings in volatility. So the concept behind our project was to take some of the genes out of that wormwood plant, transfer them into yeast, and convert it from an ethanol-producing strain into a strain that could produce artemisinin. We then transferred that strain to Sanofi under a royalty-free license, and currently they're producing artemisinin using our yeast strain in France. The best statistic you can ever read as a scientist is life saved from something you've worked on. And the two gentlemen, Carl Fisher and Derek McPhee, that came to the stage were at AMYRIS at the beginning and were critical to the success of that project, so I think it's entirely appropriate that they're here tonight. Now, I'm not going to get all geeky on you with this. I just wanted to show you what we're really doing. This is a diagram of a yeast cell, and it says biomass up on the left-hand side. That represents the sugar that goes inside that yeast cell, and then is converted through a series of chemical reactions catalyzed by enzymes, typically into ethanol. Everybody knows that yeast makes ethanol. What we've done is eliminate the ability to make ethanol and insert some plant genes to make a variety of other products. Artemisinin was the first. The second was farnesene, and I'm going to talk more about farnesene as we go, but I could choose from over 20 other molecules that we're working on. The basic idea here is that we want to be able to address markets that have a particular problem with volatility. That could be that it's a naturally sourced product, say an emollient for skincare that's harvested from the livers of deep water sharks. It could be sandalwood oil from trees that are no longer allowed to be harvested. And it could also be artemisinin for malaria. We work in three basic areas. I'm going to give you one example in each of these. Personal care, performance chemicals, and industrial. So let's start with personal care. AMYRIS has our own brand now called Biossance, and in that brand it's 100% squalane. Squalane is a component in your skin cells that gives them flexibility and prevents moisture dissipation. We engineered our yeast strains to produce this because the primary source of this 20 years ago was from deep water sharks. It's the example I gave a few minutes ago. It can also be generated from olive waste, but that is also a very environmentally unfriendly practice that produces a lot of chemical waste. So what we've done is engineer yeast to be able to produce farnesene that we can then convert into this product, and this is available on the market. In the performance chemical space, we take that same emollient and we put it in a hand cleaner called Muck Daddy. We also have, and this is also available on the web, AutoNation. But it also contains a second molecule that is a particularly good grease solvent. So this product is used to clean your hands when they're greasy, just like Goop Off and some of those other products. The reason we address this market is that typically these kinds of cleaners have something called limonene, which is extracted from citrus, which is highly volatile. The government would like to reduce levels of those volatile compounds in products. This is a great replacement for that has the same kind of efficacy in terms of cleaning, but much lower volatility. And the big one, of course, we want to get to diesel. Farnesene, when it's hydrogenated, turns into a C15 molecule that can be used directly in a diesel engine at 100%. It's approved in the US at 35% blend by by the EPA. And in Brazil, it's being used to run buses in São Paulo, Rio. It has about a little bit greater than 80% greenhouse gas reduction relative to petroleum diesel. It has no particulates, no sulfur, and dramatically reduces NOx. And yes, we are talking to VW. Same product last year was approved for use in jet fuel at a 10% blend. And we are partnered with Total on our fuel segment, the French oil company. And this year we're running flights in France, running 10% of Farnsay as a jet fuel. So just a few examples of some of the things we're working on, some of the things we're doing. It's going to take a while for us to really penetrate the fuels market, especially at $40 a barrel of oil, but we are making good progress there, and we do see use of our products in commercial diesel and jet engines. Finally, I want to touch on the whole issue of sustainability. This is a core value at AMYRIS. We were the first producer in Brazil to be awarded certification for the Roundtable of Sustainable Biomaterials. Sorry, that got stuck in my mouth. And last year we won the 2014 Presidential Green Chemistry Award for the AMYRIS diesel product. With that, I will thank you for your attention and thank you for this fantastic award.